Thank you, George. A primary theme of the regeneration conversation is about forging a deeper relationship with each other and our planet. When it comes to investment, a regenerative approach pushes us to implement practices that integrate sustainability, justice, and equity into all decisions, including in agriculture. Some of you have already been part of this unfolding conversation if you attended our breakout session on land. To bring these ideas to the forefront of our conversation today, I'm delighted to introduce a leader who truly represents what it means to be regenerative, not only in business, but in life. Konda Mason is a champion of the movement to bring regenerative practices, cooperative ownership, non-extractive capital, and economic equity to African-American farmers throughout the United States. Konda is the president and founder of Jubilee Justice, a nonprofit focused on transitioning farmers to regenerative agricultural techniques and sustainably sourced food. Konda is also a co-founder of Potlicker Capital, which is the supporting charitable loan fund that finances Jubilee's push for racial equity and regenerative farming. Konda, welcome to Next Normal Now.
Okay, I guess I have to unmute. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here with you today.
Well, Konda, you have such a fascinating personal history. You've previously worked in the entertainment industry, but then you decided to turn your attention to sustainability and regeneration. Can you talk about what inspired you to shift gears?
It sounds like a shift in gears, but it felt pretty seamless to me. It's pretty much the same. I would say that I come from a family, first of all, that was very much promoted activism and taking care of those who are most marginalized and working for justice. And so when I was in the entertainment business, most of the time I was there, I was working with jazz musicians, and they're pretty much like farmers if you think about it. They're firstly mostly Black and men and women who work really hard on the edge of society. Everyone depends upon them to supply them with, I would say, soul food, whether you're jazz or whether it's food. And yet they're also the people who get paid the least, who are marginalized economically. And so I worked with jazz musicians a lot. And then the other folks that I work with in the entertainment business, I was always working with something that had a meaning, that had a message to say. I think art is a really incredibly important aspect of teaching us how to live on the planet. And so all of the art that I worked with, whether it was in theater or film or music, it was always with those people who had a important message to say. So it's pretty much the same thing. It's the same thread through all of it.
I totally see that. And before you started Jubilee Justice, you were primarily focused on initiatives related to energy, access to quality food, and social entrepreneurship. One of your highlights included bringing the first organic produce section in a major grocery store to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Your work now is focused on farming practices in rural America. Can you tell us about Jubilee Justice and how your work intersects with the topic of regeneration in agriculture and beyond?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the work that I'm doing right now, I started a nonprofit, my first nonprofit, called Jubilee Justice. And we're working at the intersection. First of all, it started with something called the Journeys, the Jubilee Justice Journeys, working at the intersection in conversations about land, race, money, and spirit. So that's the intersection. And for me, when I think about land, race, and money, it is the core issues that haunt America. It's the core issues that we sometimes, part of it, we put under the table. We don't like to talk about, particularly across race and across class, and to have these real conversations. And so it started out like that. And talking across race, cross class with about land, about race, and about money, literally on a plantation in Louisiana, having those conversations, not in a boardroom in Oakland or San Francisco, but on a plantation in Louisiana, and making it real, and us really coming together. And spirit being that place that ties us all together, where we are all, where we all yearn to, I believe, to tap into. And it's that place where we're deeply interconnected and intertwined. And so the conversations are not so much, they're up here, yes, but then we would, drop down to the heart and say, how do we get out of this boat together. And so it began there. And then I started the Black Farmers Rice Project out of that. And again, that is a project where we work with Black farmers throughout the Southeast, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Georgia. And we're addressing this horrible, horrible gap and discrimination that has happened in rural America. You know, I always think, Amit, I always think about how the murder of Mr. Floyd, kind of woke up America and the world in a way that, oh, this is real. You know, this is really what Black people have to live through in America. And we had the benefit of having cell phones document what happened. In rural America, there's no cell phones documenting the discrimination. And the discrimination is so severe. The racial discrimination is so severe, going from having over 20 million acres aggregate Black farmers had in the 1920s, even after in Jim Crow and all of that, still managed to aggregate 20 million acres. Black farmers are down to less than 2 million acres now. There used to be over 1 million farmers. Now they're down to 45,000 farmers, losing 30,000 acres per year. That is an intentional collusion, I would say, between the US government, the USDA, and private business, and it is working. And so what we're doing is working to try to just close that gap and have these people hold on to their land and be viable partners in society, and also be food secure, and to bring food security to the communities. And so we work with them with a rice. We have actually bringing a sustainable way of growing rice. Rice is like the third largest commodity on the planet. And rice is also brought here in the United States, was brought here through the capture of Africans from West Africa. They were brought to South Carolina to grow rice like the Europeans saw them doing in West Africa. So they brought them. South Carolina was the home of rice, and it's like the African diasporic basic diet is rice. And so they were here in treacherous conditions growing rice with snakes and alligators in the swamps of South Carolina. And after emancipation, they left, of course, and walked away from growing rice. So we're bringing it back. We're bringing rice back, and we're bringing it back to Black farmers in a way where they this time participate in the upside, where they're in a cooperative. We bought a rice mill, and they will own the rice mill. So it would be the first time where they will actually benefit. And this rice, the way it's grown, is called the system of rice intensification. Rice is a huge contributor. Who knew? I didn't know. To greenhouse gases, to methane, which is the worst. All the water in rice, right? When you think of rice, you think of rice paddies, you think of a lot of water. All of that water, first of all, water use. Secondly, there's billions and gazillions of microbes in the water that are off-gassing methane. And so this way of growing rice, there's not the rice paddies, it's not rice paddies, it's grown like a crop is. And so we eliminate the water use, which California desperately needs, and it's a big rice producer. And we eliminate the methane gas, which is huge contributor in regular rice growing in the world. And so we've brought this incredibly sustainable way of growing rice in a collaboration with some great partners. We're working with the technical assistance is coming from Cornell University, and the market is with a wonderful company called Lotus Foods. And the Black farmers are learning how to do this. It's the first time in this country that this kind of technical assistance around SRI rice is happening, and it's happening with Black farmers being in the front of the line this time instead of in the back. So I'm super excited about what we're doing, and we're doing it in a regenerative way because, of course, you can't just grow one crop. So we're looking at what are the rotation crops, doing all of in between, having the cover crops, and really working towards improving soil so that we can actually sequester carbon as well. So it's an integrated, a holistic system that these farmers are doing, and that's what Jubilee Justice is about.
Well, it's an incredibly powerful example, and certainly that historical context I think is so important as to bring into this conversation.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is so important to the way we design this event is to really talk about like glimmers of the future that are here in the present, the
Mhm.
next normal now. Now, one of the things that you also talk about, and I'll quote you on this, is that debt should be on society's balance sheet, not only
That's
on the farmer.
that's right.
Can you talk about what the future of capital, like debt and equity investing, can look like for the people that you work with? Like, how would you like that to take shape as we move forward?
Yeah, I mean, so you know, in order to go forward, I always feel like you have to go back. You have to look at the harm and how the harm happened. And we have a society that likes to just move forward and not think about what happened and not really. So repair needs to happen, and we have to look at how it happened. And Black farmers specifically have been way over collateralized over their white counterparts. The loans that they get from USDA, if they ever got them, were late. Wait until the season is almost, or I think it's too late to plant. And then they give them part of what they asked for. So then they're scrambling to put seeds in the ground. What we're doing is creating a new institution. I mean, I really, me and my partner Mark Watson, who is the person who's really, he's the president of Pot Liquor Capital, which, as you noted, is a fund that he is directing. And one of the things that I love about certain people on the planet who came before me, and Buckminster Fuller is one of them. He always said to change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And so I do believe that the systems that are here, the financial systems that we have that are degrading the world, the planet, and the people, we have to create something new and different. And so I feel like we're creating a parallel little universe over here with Pot Liquor Capital. It is a nonprofit. It is, we are approaching capital from the place of a integrated capital model. That means that we have grants, we have recoverable grants, and we have loans, very low interest, from 0 to 3% loans. This is the kind of repair when you have been back so far and pushed so far intentionally. You can't expect, and non-collateralized, you cannot expect to have the same kind of requirements for people who have been so maligned financially and economic apartheid, and then expect to have the same kinds of rules and regulations and requirements and policies. You can't do it, or you continue to create the status quo. And so what we're doing is changing that up. We work with the farmers very closely. We know our farmers, and we get the story is very similar across the board, no matter whether they're in Georgia or Mississippi. And what we're doing is trying to repair the harm that has happened by getting into their stories, um, bringing in the kind of capital that they need at the time, and not strapping them again with debt that is going to be onerous and trap them as they have been trapped. We are looking at taking out their loans, refinancing loans, doing all the kinds of things that we can to help get them out of the situation, repair it, and then help them move forward.
And thank you for sharing that, and the kind of capital strategy around the work that you do. Can you talk, look at the other kind of perspective as well, and talk a little bit about what this looks like for the farmers who are receiving this very kind of support and financing that's very intentionally designed to not be extractive, both from a financial relationship, but also helping them to transition their farms to be more regenerative, through the Black Rice Project and other things that you're doing.
Yeah, it's interesting because the truth of the matter is that these farmers are so on the edge. They could get, they have been holding on for generations, and they're still very much on the edge. I mean, the average Black farm is about 100 acres when it takes 500 acres to be viable. Okay. And so we are working with them in a way where we sit with them, we learn, like I said, what they need, and bringing this capital and bringing a supportive system around, first of all, that we care. We start with the fact that we don't bring anything other than we meet them and we listen to them and we sit with them and we create relationship. It all begins with relationship building. The trust is so low because everybody has come in, has hurt them. Even everybody, there have been Black and brown people who have come in to hurt them. And so we sit with them and we develop a modicum of trust at the beginning before we do anything. If we find that they're interested, we let them know that we have some tools that may be helpful. We don't know. We come in very humbly and we find out what is their needs and they find out who we are. And then we come back again and then we come back again. And as you keep coming back, they realize, oh, these people are serious. They really are here. They didn't just come once to see and to be extractive. So our thing is absolutely about regeneration. The world, this country and the world has to move into a regenerative way of doing everything, everything, everything. And a lot of people think of regeneration around, at least in my field, they think about it as regenerative agriculture. That is only one aspect of it. Regeneration, I love Paul Hawken, who has written a book that if you people don't know, it's called Regeneration. It just came out. It is on the shelves now, and it is brilliant. And I love his definition of regeneration. And he talks about regeneration is when you put life at the center of every decision that you make and of every action that you take. You know what promotes life and you know what doesn't promote life. And so if you put life at the center of everything you do, promoting life, that is regenerative. That means whether it's the social, within the social context that we have, or the agriculture ecological context, they are interlinked. This whole bifurcation of social justice over here and ecological justice over here is a false dichotomy. It's all interlinked. And so when you can't very well revive the planet and keep stepping on people, we have to change that. It is core to saving this planet. And, with our code red alert with the IPCC came out with this year around climate, we are really in a bad way. And it's not just about climate. Climate has to be, we have to see it as a bigger picture. People are at the center of it, and how we treat each other reflects how we treat the planet. And if we don't get to the core of changing how we treat each other and bringing equity into the center, we are not going to have a planet that survives this catastrophe that we've created. And so it's really important to us at Pot Liquor Capital and Jubilee Justice that we see the whole picture. We're dealing with the people, with the society, with those most marginalized, those who have been left out. We deal with that situation economically, spiritually. We remind them that this whole word regeneration, what is it really? It's the same practices that their foreparents had years ago. It's what they already know in their DNA that now has been put together and called regeneration. Great, I love it. And it's not new, it's old. And what we do is we remind them, we talk to them about, when we go in and we talk about, how long have you had this land? What about your parents and your grandparents? What kind of farming did they do? They didn't have all these chemicals. This dependency on chemicals that they currently have, most of them, they're stuck. And they know they're stuck and they would love to get out of it. And what we do is we try just little ways to try to pull them out of this stuckness. Let's do a small plot, a third of an acre, or half of that even. And no chemicals. We're going to do it completely differently. And we do it as an experiment. And they see that maybe this can work. We get rid of all those the big equipment that is completely compacting the earth and creating the kind of soil that's dead that we have now in agriculture. And so we show them different ways, and they show us. This is not a one-way street. Believe me, we are not coming in with a lot of wisdom. We are taking and listening to their wisdom, to their foreparents' wisdom. And together we go, what if we went back there? What would that be like? And so that's what's happening. And it's really beautiful to see the relationships that we are creating. I love, love, love these farmers. And they bring so much joy to me and to our team. And they are, they want to get out of this stuck agrochemical business that they are in. And so we're just opening up a door of a way out.
Well, I think that is such a a powerful set of perspectives to close on. I think I really appreciate this conversation because I think you've not only grounded this in kind of land and people and the interrelationship between the two, but also brought this out about to the higher level of like what we're ultimately trying to accomplish with the way we design our society. I think these points around putting equity at the center, putting life at the center, and organizing around that, certainly, from your perspective, you're doing this in practice. And I think what's so important about your work is that it shows the ripple effects generations have not only on our food systems, but also in how we allocate our capital and how regeneration is absolutely critical to shifting the system.
Yeah.
One of the things that really resonates with me is that as we look to the future, this importance of reckoning with our past, and that a lot of these the new approaches around regeneration are actually approaches that have been around for centuries, and we're actually just reintroducing them in a way that restores a harmony that we've lost. So I do want to thank you so much for joining us today, and your work is helping us all see the future of our next normal.
Well, great. I really appreciate being here. And I just want to say that this word regeneration, I love it. And it's being greenwashed already where everybody's using the word regeneration. Time is ticking, everyone. And we've got to go deeper than we've ever been. We've got to let go of some things. We've got to change internally in order to change externally. And that's what the other part of my work, the Jubilee Justice Journeys, we work with the internal, the mindset that creates the system of injustice and creates the system of degrading the planet. And so I just hope that this is not just a topical conversation. I fear that when I have these conversations and I love being here and it's 20 minutes, right? And it's like, there's so much to say and so much to do. I'm praying that people take this seriously and that we all participate. Every single being that's listening to this, please act, do something. There's so much to do. And again, I want to point to the book Regeneration. In the back of it, he has a list of things to do. Everybody asks what to do. What should I do? The one thing that I want to leave with is get proximate. Come closer. We keep ourselves distanced from issues. We know them in here, but we don't want to come closer. And the closer you come, the more your heart opens and the more you're likely to do. So get proximate, people. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Those powerful words to end on, and I'm so grateful for you joining us. And I do hope that everyone listening to this, responds to that call to action. The urgency is it couldn't be overstated. And so thank you so much, Konda, for your leadership and for taking the time during harvest season to join us as part of this conversation.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate being here. Take care.